So I'm going to talk today about Gemini Sagittarius Axis. Gemini is about communication, ruled by Mercury. Sagittarius is about belief and faith, ruled by Jupiter. Very different sorts of planets, but they form this axis of communication, which is really, really important. I understand this one fairly well because my North Node is in Gemini and my South Node is in Sagittarius, so it's something that I constantly deal with, and it's a very interesting axis as such. So it's bringing our attention to how we process ideas and information. That's Gemini. And what we then do with them in the world. That's Sagittarius, because Sagittarius wants to do something with it. So planets in Gemini focus on learning, reading, thinking, how to communicate that internally. And planets in Sagittarius want to go out into the world. They want to understand the big picture. They want to have faith. They want to question things, ideals, etc. And also they want to question belief systems, in relation to the world at large, which is quite different as such, because Sagittarius wants to know what it wants to believe. It wants to expand. So two very different sorts of energies. So this is the axis of thinking, how you learn, what you're perceiving, what you're taking on, and how that forms your worldview and shapes you in terms of what your life experiences come together. Gemini is your mind, your personal experiences, what we take in and sit with, what we ponder, how we create stories, our internal stories that we tell ourselves, and how we learn and understand information as well, and how we speak. Our communication style is really, really important because Gemini is obviously ruled by Mercury, so it's all about the throat chakra as well. What you need to say and how you need to say that becomes really important. Gemini energy can be a little bit scattered. It can be quite playful as well and spontaneous, but it can feel like it's a little bit all over the place because it wants to get all the information and all the details, which can be which can be very exciting on one level, but hard in terms of trying to get things organised as well. And so your energy could feel a bit all over the place when you've got a lot of planets or a lot of things going on in Gemini. And basically you have lots and lots of ideas as well. Sagittarius is that bigger world view, expands you, moves you outside of your own mind, out of yourself, moves you into new territory, new ideas, new places, and where you want to be. Sagittarius also rules travel and cultures, religions, and higher learning as well. So it really and truly wants to expand those ideas out into the bigger world as well. And it's important because it allows us to have a healthy expression of those ideas and things that we have, you know what I mean? So really having a look at, looking at different belief systems, etc., and different ideologies and different ways people live in different cultures, which is really, really important. One of the things that sometimes happens with Sagittarius is that it can have a little bit of a judgmental filter at times in terms of looking at assumptions and how it sees things and what it does and doesn't agree. But I suppose the important thing is not to take any of that personally and keep learning and understanding. So, and actually try and keep understanding those different perspectives, and also understand that we move beyond all of that. It's also important because it raises our consciousness and our awareness into new areas as well. And it allows us to look at different ideologies and different ways of thinking. So Gemini looks at these world experiences as the places you travelled, and then brings it back into our own personal realm, our own personal thought process. What are you really thinking and holding on to? And it's about short-term excursions, weekend trips, where you go on a daily basis as well. So bringing that back in, and it doesn't, it basically is a more bounded energy, whereas Sagittarius gets a bit bored and wants to expand, and see lots of things and do lots of things and broaden its experience. It also has an adventurous streak, and it wants to keep exploring and understanding, and it wants us to keep learning and evolving and seeing things differently. Can exaggerate a little bit. Jupiter, rules Sagittarius, so it likes us to expand, and it can have a big vision, etc. And in a sense, the Gemini energy basically wants to bring us back to the details, bring us back to making sure that we know how it's all going to happen. It's great to have a big vision, but we also need to think through a bit of a plan to make sure that that's going to happen, and look at the details and make sure we can actually do that. So whilst we may want to have a big adventure, which is what Sagittarius wants to do, expand us, Gemini will get the details, look at all the details, make sure it can plan, and so those two things can actually work together so we can achieve that big trip or that big project or that big adventure. So Gemini is very much the planning, the details, And one of the things is that whilst Gemini can be very stuck in those details, Sagittarius encourages it to expand beyond that and look out of beyond itself, which is really, really important too, and look at different ways of doing things. Says there's different ways, different lifestyles, different ideas, different cultures, and it wants to look at the different multiple personalities and possibilities and opportunities out there, which is really, really important. Both are mutable signs, so both are about flexibility and making choices, etc. as well. They want to be very, very adaptable as well. So it's really important that we actually get into that as well. So, Gemini wants to read the book, which is really, really helpful in a sense, and get the ideas and get it all down on paper, whereas Sagittarius wants to look at all the different topics and wants us to really expand. So those two energies really need to work together for us to not overlook things and for also us to be able to put things together. And Gemini likes to make lists and make sure that, it has things down pat so you know what you're doing. So it's also about how you approach all the information in the world. So, and how you keep stretching yourself, which is really, really key and very, very important. Gemini likes its mind to be active and stimulated. Information is its brain food, and it needs lots and lots of information. And it likes variety, communications. It likes, it's curious, inquisitive, likes to make sure it knows everything that's going on. It's very versatile and adaptable and super curious as well. Though at times it can be a little bit superficial and a little bit ungrounded, which makes it a bit of a challenge. Sagittarius is about the belief system as well. And it wants to go, beyond itself. It wants to know what it wants to have faith in, what it believes in, which is really, it's about learning about the meaning of life, which is really, really important. And it wants to do so by discovering, by being on a journey of discovery, which is really important. It's got an adventurous mind. It seeks faith, something to believe in, and will go to great travel lengths to find it. It likes travel, higher education, philosophy. These are important things. It's expansive, adventurous, confident. Sometimes it sees the big picture, but it can also be a bit opinionated, a bit tactless, sometimes a bit argumentative and exaggerating of things, and can go off and can sort of be a little bit like influenced by blind faith. So it needs to look sometimes with that Gemini mind at what's more realistic as well. So this is our polarity here about processing ideas and information. So Gemini, again, is about how we do so on an internal level and how we bring that together and focus on learning and reading and information and how we communicate that. Whereas Sagittarius is seeking to understand that on a bigger picture and wants to go out into the world, to travel, to have higher education, philosophy, new ideas, etc. So it can actually develop its own belief systems and really come to a place within itself, and how it knows that information really helps it form that big picture and find out what it truly believes in. So an interesting axis for those of us who have it in our charts, but again, a very, very powerful one. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you like this, click like and subscribe. Thank you.